I had met you. You were brand newly signed. I remember me, you, Lecrae.
I remember that.
And we went out and we did a day. We just kind of kicked it. Y'all had like a down day in San Diego.
Yes.
I think I took y'all to like, but the homie was the manager of Foot Locker. We went to Foot Locker, and you were brand new. I don't even think the paperwork was signed yet. You were brand new in the scene.
True. Yes. I remember we debated cursing.
Did we?
Yeah, we did. Was it okay for Christian to cuss? We did that on the ride to the airport. I remember that. Yes.
We could talk about that too. Amin, I've never met you in person.
You're wrong then and you're wrong now.
I probably was wrong then, and I'm probably still wrong now, but it's okay. Amin, I've never met you in person, brother. So we follow each other on social. I enjoy your commentary. Obviously, I enjoy what you do on Southside Rabbi. Let's just open with this, and Amin, do feel free to chime in because I think your perspective is valuable. In the media, as of lately, we see all the Kanye controversy, the lack of ownership of the masters. I want to get on this thing and this idea of leverage. KB, you were brand newly, I don't even think the paperwork was signed when you were with Reach Records back then. You were a dope artist. You were a dope rapper. You had a movement with HDA in the Florida scene, but what you were missing was leverage, and specifically the leverage of a cosign, which then positioned the label to have the leverage again. I don't want to say against you, but they had the leverage in the situation. Can you kind of, we don't got to talk about the particulars of that specific deal, but can you kind of break down how leverage worked, especially 10, 15 years ago where we didn't have Instagram and YouTube and podcasting and all these ways to build media audiences, that if an artist didn't have leverage, they were at a disadvantage. And some of that, not all of it, but some of that can explain what Kanye has talked about and what others have talked about. So just feel free to dive in right in there.
Yeah. So I think the first thing I'll say, as you already alluded to, 10 years ago, the music industry was a completely different place. And 10 years before that, it was even more different. And every decade that you go back, you're seeing radical differences in how music is made and how artists connect with their fans. There was a time where if you did not have a record label, you couldn't really do anything. You couldn't distribute the music. Because if you got record stores, and unless you take it to the local record store, that's the only place it's going to be. And if you don't take it there, it won't be anywhere. Also, recording stuff was crazy difficult. Stuff had to be done in one take. If you messed up, there it is. It was very expensive. The equipment was very clunky and difficult to manage. You had to have expertise. You had to go to school and be trained to actually record simple vocals. So it was a very different world. So labels held a lot of the power because they had all that stuff on payroll. They had studio on payroll, they had distribution on payroll, and then they also had this third piece, money. They were a bank. So labels are banks, centers for distribution. They are supposed to have marketing. That was more important back in the day as well. Again, you can't get on a commercial on TV. You don't have radio. You don't have these labels are in bed with radio conglomerates. Without that, you were locked out. So they would provide that. So I guess it's four things: marketing, a bank, recording, and then distribution. As time has gone on, and to speed this up into current day, the label's role is much different. Because you have direct contact with your consumers now, and most of your consumers are not buying records anymore. So they don't need to go to a bookstore, they don't go to Walmart or Best Buy or a record store. They don't need that. They can just stream it immediately and they would prefer that. In fact, my vehicle doesn't even have a CD player. I mean, they're making cars without CD players now. Just like they did with tapes. They got rid of tapes, so they moved to that. So now there's one wing of the label that has been greatly weakened, that you're not necessary for distribution. Okay. Right. Then there's the marketing place. These folks that are winning, artists that are winning now, are doing it through grassroots connection with a tribe, and it's expanding upon that tribe largely outside of simple cosigns or because you're with some group, like I'm with the Money Chasers, so therefore now I'm popular. We saw that you could even be next to greatness. I'm sorry, look at the right place. You could be right next to somebody that's killing it, and that doesn't necessarily mean that shine just spills on you, because people are able to access their influencers and their artists in ways that they never could before. So a lot of times when somebody's rocking with you, they're really just rocking with you. They're not doing it because you're friends with Jay-Z, right, or because you were seen at this party with these other folks. It's not the cosign or they're into you. And even that, you know what I'm saying? I'm saying it very quickly. When we talk about a fan, it's probably helpful for people to even decipher what we mean by that. Because I'm not talking about somebody that knows who you are. There's a big difference between I know who you are, I'm aware of you, and I will pay money out of my pocket because I believe in you. There's a world of difference between those two realities. And a lot of people are fighting. They're fighting so people would know who they are. But when it comes down to real power and like moving your career forward, a lot of folks know you, but they're not committed to you. So they wouldn't actually pay to support you. And this is what these new artists in the current day have, is that a label can't give me loyalty. That only comes from people being exposed to who I am and then falling in love with it. And I can cultivate that on my socials without. So then labels get strength and get weakened from that standpoint. You can't really give me an audience. Radio, same situation. It falls into the first thing I talked about. It's just not as necessary anymore. Now it's about playlisting. You do much better to be on a Rap Caviar playlist or a Beast Mode playlist. Every single record that has gone, don't say every single record, most Christian hip hop records that have done crazy numbers. You know what I'm saying? Where you like about to go gold, or you went gold, or you have like, I think I have one song that has like 30,000 or 30 million streams to it. That has been the result of our tribe getting the attention of somebody that's working at playlisting at Spotify or YouTube or Apple Music, saying, oh, I like this. I have some control here. I think other people will like this. Let me put this on this playlist. Like Beast Mode, for example. And that is what opens the world up to you. And you're so I'm saying that this is just kind of how it goes down. You know what I mean? So with that being said, I think that there's this massive contrast where the label is finding themselves in a situation that is extremely complicated because the necessity, the classical necessity is not there like it was before. And here's the biggest thing, and I'll bounce past it back to you, Ruslan. The other thing that's happening is that artists are becoming more educated, okay? And I feel this is one of the gifts of the information age. I've been trying to tell artists for years. Shout out to Lynn Lowe, my administrator, who's a good friend of mine, who put me on to the book Everything You Know About the Music Business. You should not be rapping if you have not read that book, okay? I know that's a hyperbolic statement, but it's not. It's not a hyperbolic statement. It's a factual statement. Put the mic down. If you sign to a label, just stop talking to them for a second and go read that book. Everything You Know About the Music Business. I picked that thing up almost 7 years ago, and it transformed my life. That with a lot of other things, but that book educates, and there's all kinds of articles, because what you don't understand is that when you sign to this label in traditional situations, let me pause for a second to say a lot of the labels are, for lack of better words, or maybe this is the best word, repenting. They're seeing how they have been treating artists in these deals that have been set up in a way that disenfranchise. You take this artist's music, and then you own all of it, and you can give it to your children while he dies broke. You know what I'm saying? Over and over again. Go watch Why Do Fools Fall in Love? Read all the stories of these artists who die and their families go and sue labels to try to get money. Almost the mainstream stories is a common theme. When judges and juries hear what labels are doing to artists, they are shocked.
Right, yeah. Because they have no idea.
They have no idea like that. Yeah. So hold on, let me get this right. So he made the song, he recorded it, he spent his life promoting it, but you own it forever.
Perpetually, yeah. Forever.
They're flabbergasted by it. So there's the reality that artists are becoming educated. One of those points of education is that you realize that you getting an advance is not necessarily your advantage, because I'm just going to take the gloves off.
Please.
Typically when an artist gets an advance, especially if you don't have a monster lawyer, praise God for sending me Ramona DeSalvo. Shameless shout out to her, my lawyer. But when you get an advance, that advance is paid back on what's called a mechanical rate. So that doesn't mean that if they gave you $25,000, that as soon as you make $25,000, it's paid back. No. The mechanical rate is whatever portion in the typical artist rate, the standard artist rate.
Talk about
is that you're recouping at 10%, which means to pay back $50,000, you'd have to sell 500,000 records. It's like going gold to pay back 50 grand. There is a great link between what has been standard in record companies and record contracts for years that's very close to predatory lending.
Yeah.
That if I went and bought a couch, I rent a couch from you.
Yep.
And after 10 years of paying this thing off, not only am I closer to owning it, I still owe money on it.
Yeah.
That means I'm never going to get out of this.
Yep.
So the advance is a sexy amount of money that you can get, and they give it to you so you can have money to live with, which is important. But that whole world of even labels acting as the bank, calling them a bank is probably a little too generous. It's more like an AMSCOT.
They're giving it to you with like a 26% interest rate.
Exactly.
It's like
well, it's worse. It's technically worse when you actually break the math down to say you got to pay back the $50,000 from your slither of a 10% royalty rate.
Right.
So you got to generate 10x that just to break even, and that's not considering recording costs, marketing costs, music video costs, all the other costs. So you're literally going gold to pay back 50 to 100,000. You're going quadruple platinum to pay back $1 million. The numbers are crazy, astronomical. So the simple question for you guys is, Kanye ain't crazy when he said everything that he said. He's actually pretty spot on.
No, I think that there are parts of what Kanye said, in my opinion, that are probably being filtered through a smidge of the fact that he's a rich guy and demands certain kinds of things, parts of it. But I think the lion's share of what he said is right on. Pharrell went on Breakfast Club and said the exact same thing years ago and said the fact that labels are owning people's work forever. They're owning it forever. This is your idea. You wrote it. You recorded it. You might have even produced it, and it does not belong to you. Not temporarily. Think about other industries. If I sort of come up with some invention, and I go to some massive company that wants to use this, they got two options. They can buy it from me, and that's really, really expensive.
Right.
When labels sell masters, there are multi-million-dollar sales because you have to pay the value of the catalog for what it's going to be for 10 years. So it's a very expensive thing to buy masters. So when Rihanna went and bought her masters, and Jay-Z went and bought their masters, and Kanye's talking about buying their masters, Taylor Swift bought her masters, they had to pay millions, hundreds of, maybe $150 million, $300 million, because it's expensive to own somebody's stuff. So you either can pay me what it's worth to buy it, to actually own it, or you can lease it. And that's the kind of deal that I'm in right now. I'm in a lot of labels are turning the curve. I want to praise God for that and give honor where honor is due. A lot of labels are saying we were just doing what we thought was standard and we're realizing it was unethical.
Yep.
And we want to do different. We want to be different now.
Yep.
So a lot of labels are doing partnerships. Like I would never enter into another deal where my masters belong to somebody else, and particularly not forever. And so now we're doing joint ventures where I can lease a portion of my masters to you for this period of time, and after that, it's mine because it is mine. I made it.
Right.
Yes.
So, anyways, let me just say one more thing, Ruslan. One more thing. Last thing. I'm hearing one of my really good friends, Joseph Prolazny, arguing with me right now because him and I debate this. He's saying, well, what the label took a risk on you, right? The label took a chance on you. They didn't have to give you that opportunity. I'm from Southside St. Petersburg. I had no options in terms of being in the music industry. And there are I had very limited options, put it like that. There was tremendous value that tremendous value is brought to the artist, right? When the label is this established thing they've been working hard on, they have all these years of work and blood, sweat, and tears, and them taking risk and all that stuff, and they're letting you eat off the spoils of their labor. So shouldn't we applaud them for their commitment? So let me just say this. I want to respond to that because I hear Joseph saying that to me right now. As a capitalist myself.
Oh, you're a capitalist. Whoa. We'll come back to that one. We'll come back to that.
Yes, I am, yes. As I call it redemptive capitalism.
Yeah.
But as a capitalist myself, I think that is a part of what has been unhelpful about capitalism is thinking because you took the risk, you somehow deserve all the rewards.
All the spoils, right.
All the spoils. Like, because I'm the one who initiated it, I'm the one. I know I didn't do anything to build this, but it was me who was there first. Basically, they're saying whoever can be to it first deserves everything.
It's like colonialism.
It's
like
kind of colonial-esque.
Of your spoils and of your work.
Yes.
The product of your labor.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that is being filtered through this because here's the reality. You dudes folks can act like they're taking all the risks and they didn't know this was going to work. And let's say they put $100,000 into this person and it didn't go. First of all, I'm going to give you very quick, and I'm moving on, I promise. First of all, labels are very smart. They have looked at you and studied you. They know their market. They are not going to take a shot in the dark on anybody. Mm-hmm. They at least are going to run the numbers and see how much they are either guaranteed to make back or what they're comfortable losing, and there's still benefits to loss, like taxes, okay? The other thing is...
Sheesh, you're going deep.
They own everything you make. So I may not get my $100,000 that I put back into you in the first 5 years, but I own it for eternity. If I just make a few dollars off of you for the next 30, 40 years, I just give it over to my children or next, we're going to get our money back. Right. We're going to get, because we own everything. It's just like real estate. Think about real estate. I get this property and it doesn't sell, or I can't find a renter for it, but I still own the dirt. That means you have all the equity. You own all the equity day one, and equity is power. Equity is more important than debt. I'll give me debt. I'll take debt as long as I hold on to my equity and they have all of your equity. Right. And then the last thing about this, what drives ultimately the success of an artist comes down to that artist. You do have industry plants. There's obviously the K-pop music industry where they're churning out these almost like algorithm stars, stuff like that. Right. But I'm talking about what artists have to do, bro. They have to give their blood, sweat, and tears, their creativity. This is straining on their family, it's straining on their bodies, their lives. There's a reason that a lot of these artists become addicted and divorced. I see this in the Christian music industry all the time. All of that travel and being away to make this thing a success is risky. You bear the brunt of your success in your own body, and you should be compensated for that. So at the end of the day, I don't see the moral standing for why you deserve everything because I didn't have anything when you got to me. So you're not really losing, and I don't think it's fair. So, yeah.
All right. I love it. I love your transparency. I love everything you're saying. I think now, just to add, now more than ever, not only do they know they're going to make their money back, but it's all algorithm based. So they're literally watching analytics, and I watch analytics. I don't know if you're up on chart metric, KB, but
of course, yes, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So we could all look and say, me or you want to sign an artist, we can keep up with their chart metric analytics and literally see as that number's about to go up, and just and they have even more complicated systems at the majors, and that's how they feel their talent now. It's not about your eye for talent. It's an algorithm. They know this person's about to explode based on these key factors and all that. So it's even less of a risk now.